Yo guys, what is up? And today we are back with Broadway grosses, so let's get into it. Up first, we have & Juliet, which recently recouped, and it played from 86% last week to 87% this week, and 863K this week, or last week, to this week's 838K. Now again, & Juliet is in no danger of closing, but I will say that if it goes to a 7 or 6, major concerns. Again, I think it's made enough money that it will not end by the end of this year, maybe next year, but it's definitely not doing gangbuster numbers. You know, 838,000 is not terrible, but you want to see 870 plus, probably 850 plus, you know, more with a 9 in front of it. And that's just because it is a jukebox musical, and with how the licensing works and how much they have to pay in terms of royalties, I think that this show could stand to do a lot better. But I don't think it's any danger necessarily. But it's not doing amazing. It's just doing okay. A Beautiful Noise, and that's closing this month, went from 70% to 69%, and 941K to 914K. Back to the Future went from 90.49 to 90.60. Last week it was 1,100,000, and this week it's 1,110,000. Ben Platt ended his Palace residency pretty strongly for the best week ever of 81% to 94%, and 680K to 811K. Cabaret went from 99.85 to 99.73. and 1,899,832 to 1,883,570. Hadestown continues to do extremely well, going from 100.56 to 100.59, and 870K to 878K. Hamilton went from 1,905,404 to 1,908,390, and 99.41 to 99.92. Hell's Kitchen continues to do amazing at the box office, proving that it did not need that Tony win, going from 100.66 to 100.97, and 1,638,208 to 1,687,961. Illinois went from 84% to 86%, and 700K to 758K, which is a lot better. Again, these are not numbers that justify an extension or potential move to another theater. Obviously, if it had won, it would have gone up. I'll say that Illinois is very smart that they did a limited engagement, because I feel like these numbers would have only decreased week to week, and then eventually it would have closed by the end of the year. But what I will say is I wish this show was doing better. I wish that it had an 8 or a 9 in front of it. From a business perspective, it's just getting by. It's just doing okay. But it could be and should be doing so much more. And again, typically with these smaller musicals, they don't need to make, 950,000 a week. Heck, they don't even need to make 800 a week. But, that's what they like to see. So hopefully the Tony performance will boost ticket sales. I also think that the marketing for Illinois wasn't great, and I just feel like they could have done a lot more. Because of The Great Gatsby, which got panned from critics, and that's doing so well, partially because of its marketing and social media, then clear indication that it works. Merrily sold out and went from 1,762,019 to 1,843,457. Moulin Rouge continues to do very poorly, going from 92% to 93%, and 989K to 957K. Again, I don't think this is going to close this year, but if it goes to an 8 or a 7, could 100% close by the end of this year. But it's made too much money that's not going to happen. But we are seeing the steam kind of coming out of this show, and a similar situation where Hadestown was at. And will they bring in a new big star to this project? Why is Moulin Rouge not doing so hot? It's because it's not a good show, that's why. But no, I don't know. I think that maybe, again, there's a lot of musicals happening now, so I think that maybe, again, it's oversaturation, and just, it's the old thing, it's not the new thing. So, that's my assumptions. 6 went from 845K to 938K, and 89% to 96%. Suffs continues to do phenomenal, going from 94.69 to 97.19, and 851K to 852K. I think with these grosses, it could survive until next year. I think if it can maintain 8s and 9s through the summer, and it doesn't fall too heavily in the fall, it could make it past the end of the year. But I'm going to go with my gut instinct that it will close at the end of the year. But as it stands now, Suffs is doing very good at the moment. Heart of Rock and Roll announced their closing. Who would have expected? Going from 55% to 51%, and 272K to 272K. The Great Gatsby went from 93.38 to 91.75, and 1,172,167 to 1,155,615, doing very solid. The Notebook continues to decline, going from 89% to 87%, and 711K to 663K. So again, I think the Notebook, I have a feeling like the way it's headed, I'm expecting end of the year closing. People are saying Labor Day. I think it's going to do better in the summer and better enough to justify going into the fall. But I think once we get to the fall, we'll see the 5s and the 4s and the 3s, and that's when they'll call it quits. The Outsiders played to 7 performances, sold out, made $1 million, 1,101,598 last week, and 1,023,804 this week. The Who's Tommy is not doing so hot, going from 71% to 72%. And 750K to 762K. The Wiz went from 1,372,094 and 93% to 96% and 1,428,387. And Water for Elephants went from 82% to 84% and 1,019,986 to 1,002,827. So overall, a pretty solid week for everything involved, and I think we kind of have a good standing of how the summer is going to go, what's going to do well, what's not going to do well, and I'm very excited for next week's grosses. But for right now, it seems like there's no interesting developments. There is one thing that I want to talk about, and this thing is pretty serious, and I wanted to make my own video, but I think that making my own video, one, I don't think it would necessarily have a lot of content in it. It'd be like a minute long at most, and two, I feel like, these grosses videos gets a lot of views, and so I want this message, this story to be shared with the people, as many people as possible. And so basically, Brody Grant and a couple of the leads of the Outsiders were accused of assaulting a woman. And now, again, that's the Instagram story, that's the Instagram account, and then apparently they were like saying to people backstage at the Tonys, none of you should even stay here because we're gonna win. And Sweaty Oracle also made a video hinting at this as well, and then multiple people have come out via DMs and said, hey, he did this, he did that. Now again, is this proven in a court of law? No. Are we gonna know if any of this is 100% true? No. I don't know if that will ever happen, because Brody Grant is not a major star like Johnny Depp. But what I will say is this. If the producers knew that these people had a history and they continued to go on with them, and they knew this, which is what Sweaty Oracle was implying, the Outsiders producers are absolute pieces of human scum. And they deserve to be fired and get new producers in there, and Brody Grant and those people need to be ousted immediately. Obviously, this is very disheartening because they just won Best Musical. It's got the Outsiders has a huge young Gen Z fan base, and the Outsiders has pumped a lot of life into musicals this past year, and a lot of people on TikTok love it. But I'm giving it to you straight. Brody Grant accused of assaulting women, and the big R word was implied that he did. Now again, I'm just sharing this as a message, as getting it out to the people, and what makes me more kind of wanting to do this is because the Broadway Reddit account, not the account, but the site took down someone's post of that. Now again, that might be following the guidelines of we can't accuse people if they haven't done anything, but yeah, that's basically the story. I don't have any more information to tell you guys. I have nothing really else to say other than that it's a horrible situation. It's a messy situation. I'm upset for all parties involved, you know, and hopefully that, you know, this can come to a good conclusion, you know. And I'm not saying that this guy is innocent. I'm not saying that he's innocent, but I'm just saying, like, if this proves to be a lie, then obviously I feel bad that he has to go through this. But again, we should listen to the people that are survivors and that are people that are sharing these stories, and come together as a community and support one another. So I hope that you guys take this information and that, you know, you don't do anything stupid with it. You simply just have that knowledge in your head. So anyways, that's the video, and yeah, see you next time.